Next is relational model constraint. What is a relational model constraint? It means that relational constraints are nothing but it specifies, say, a certain set of rules that are imposed on a database. It is going to validate the quality of the database. It also validates various operations. So it gives you, say, a certain set of rules that a database must contain. We have four relational constraint: domain constraint, key or uniqueness constraint, entity integrity, and referential integrity constraint. Now, what is each one of it? Domain constraint means that every domain must contain, say, an atomic value, or a smallest value. For example, we check in a database that it should contain uh, any smallest entity. For example, let's say we define the employee ID as the integer. So this can take up only integer values. So it should contain some small indivisible units. That is a domain constraint. Uniqueness constraint is that we need to have a unique or a unique key or a primary key. You can define any column as the primary key, but we need to make sure it is unique. It's a unique identifier which is used to identify the entire row. For example, the primary key cannot have duplicates, or it cannot have any null values because it's a unique identifier. Entity integrity constraint says that no primary key can take up a null value since primary key we identify. So basically, entity integrity says that the primary key which we defined earlier cannot have no null values. It cannot have a null value. Referential integrity constraint is specified between two relations or tables. It is used to maintain the consistency among the tuples in the two relation. So, for example, referential integrity is an example. Say you have one table and you have a primary key. We have another table that is a foreign key. So this key can be used to, say, refer the other table. So it's like a referential integrity or as like a reference that we use. So that is a referential integrity. It specifies some sort of a relationship between the two different tables. Best example is the foreign key. Next we have two concepts called generalization and specialization. What is generalization and specialization? So generalization is a concept in which the common properties from a set can be generalized. So generalized is a bottom up approach, and specialization is a top down approach. So what does that mean? It means that generalization is a concept in which a bottom up approach in which two or more entities can be generalized to a higher level entity. For example, say faculty and a student both can be generalized as a person, correct? So that is the generalization concept. A faculty and a student, both of them generalized to a person. So it is a bottom up approach in which two or more entities is generalized to a higher level entity, something that they have in common. Specialization is something where an entity is divided into, say, sub entities based on some particular characteristic. It is a top down approach. For example, say an employee can be specialized in, say, two different things, say as a developer or a tester. So that is how you can divide. any entity is divided into say sub entities based on any characteristic. So where higher level entity is nothing but specialized into two or more lower level entities. So an employee can either be a developer or a tester. Next question is the importance of the entity integrity, which we saw earlier. What is entity integrity and referential integrity? What is its importance and why it is used? Entity integrity is something that states the primary key can never contain, the primary key can never contain null values. So because it is used to identify the other rows, so it is the unique identifier and it cannot have any null values. A table can contain null values anywhere but except in the primary key. So you can say draw a small table and give the example that say you have student ID that can be say 1 2. You can have the name of the students, say A B, and then age, say 21 and 25. This is my primary key and this can never be null. That is my entity integrity. Now what is my referential integrity? So the same thing, you can give an example and explain. Referential integrity is something that's it can be specified between two tables. We need two tables. It gives any specific relationship between the two tables or like a reference. So if say a foreign key in a table 1, say a foreign key in my table 1, it refers to the primary key. It refers to the primary key in table 2. It means that every value of a foreign key in table 1 must be null or available in the table 2. Example, say I have, so foreign key in a table 1 refers to my primary key in table 2. That means that every value of the primary key in table 1, it must be present in table 2 because it is used as a reference. For example, let's assume say block number 20 not allowed because it is not present in table, second table. So example, say I have a student ID, say 1 and 2, and I have the name of the students is A and B, and then I have the age 2022. Then I'm going to have another, say block number. Now block number can be 22 and 23. This block number, if used in say another table, must contain all of the values.